Hello, and thanks for watching this episode of Atherton On Air. I'm Addie Shaney, and here's what's trending. Last week, we all saw a traditional part of our country's election process turned into a disturbing spectacle by a group of angry rioters. Fueled by the president's suggestion that the election was stolen from him, several rioters pushed past police barricades and forced their way into the Capitol building, interrupting the ceremonial counting of electoral votes. This unusual event gave us all pause as Americans, since this type of behavior is far from the peaceful transfer of power that we are accustomed to. How will the events of January 6, 2021 affect the future? How did it make you feel to see this happen live on TV? We asked Atherton students for their thoughts, and here is what they had to say.
My family and we had the news on, but I really wasn't paying attention. I was kind of doing my own thing, but later on I kind of was like, what really happened? So I talked to my mom about it, and she kind of explained it to me more. So it did make a little bit more sense to me. And 2 out of my 8 teachers addressed it, and they kind of opened up the floor, like, to see how people are feeling, if they have any concerns, or just like if they need to ask any questions. And I do think it's really important to talk about it because it's history. It's like what we're living in.
All of my teachers really did a good job of addressing what happened on Wednesday with the class. We had small group discussions about what happened, and I thought it was a really good bonding moment with my classmates to just see how they were feeling about it. And everyone kind of needed a day to think about what was going on in the world and how messed up everything is. But it's very important for the class to do things like this, just because everyone is different and everyone sees things differently. You have different communities all throughout Atherton. There's a lot of diversity, so you'll have a lot of different mixed views on what happened in DC. I'm actually not too worried about the upcoming inauguration, just because Trump has kind of done everything he can do. I don't know what else he could do to dig his hole any deeper, but with Trump you can't expect anything. So he may do something, he may not, but I feel like that we'll be okay and we'll have our new president.
I watched the DC riots live for about a few hours, for about from about 6 till around 8 or 9, and I thought they were really, it was funny to me. It's tragic, it's sad, but I thought it's hilarious to see that these people, like, they just don't give up when they know that they've lost. It's really funny to me. It's just sad, but I found it somewhat ridiculous.
I mean, this is a part of history. This is not, like, just kind of a thing that happened. This will probably be written in history books in 100 years, or in, I don't know how many years, but this is like the second time people have attacked the Capitol, I think, and so, like, this carries a lot of weight.
I didn't pay too much attention to what was going on Wednesday, mainly because I had a lot of homework and other things that day, so I try not to pay too much attention because that type of stuff typically tends to stress me out. But every few hours and the next day and whatnot, I did, I guess, gather up the information that I felt like I needed to have a full understanding of what happened. And a few teachers talked about it, and I think it was definitely good because you kind of have to talk about these real world situations where, big problems are occurring. So I thought that was very important and very good that the teachers did that. And I do think that because of the riots, it will cause a problem, maybe not with the inauguration, but with upcoming elections or with candidates, because I've just noticed, like, lately, the country's just so divided. It's just like either black or white. There's odd or even. And so because of that, I can just see, like, a lot more conflict spewing if there happens to be, candidates that are that divided from the other side.
I didn't pay too much attention when the events were going on Wednesday in DC because I don't follow politics or news very closely. What happened, though, was a tragic yet historic event, but I think America will recover well because I don't see an event like this going on anytime soon.
I was watching the news the day they stormed the Capitol. My teachers did mention it in class, and I think it's really important to mention it in class and educate others on what actually happened and like the real stuff that actually happened and like the violence and stuff. But also I think some people are still stubborn about their opinions, so we shouldn't really like have debates in class because I don't really think that's appropriate. But we should still bring it up to raise awareness about what actually happened.
We also reached out to teachers to see what they had to say about the situation and how it altered their lesson plans. Here's what social studies teacher Rebecca Taylor had to say.
Hi there, Atherton High School. I am sitting in my car updating my computer, so what a better time to tell you about what we did in U.S. history after the Capitol riots happened last Wednesday. Well, we are in the middle of talking about imperialism, and we used that opportunity to compare the yellow journalism of the Spanish-American War to the media techniques used to portray the unraveling of the events at the Capitol on Wednesday. We looked at headlines, we looked at sources, we looked at language and images that people use to portray the message they like to portray about that particular event.
That was just a small sample of the feedback we got regarding this unusually historic event. Please be sure to stay tuned as we will bring you many more student reactions and opinions at the end of today's show. Everyone is having a tough time dealing with online school, and teachers are no exception. Some Atherton students recently took the time to record special shout-outs to some faculty members who deserve some extra attention.
Hi, I'm Kendall Stannis, and the teacher I think that has been most helpful during this hard times in an NTI process would have to be Ms. Kaufman. She is always willing to help me, and she is my second period social studies teacher for 9th grade. She is amazing. She always understands if I'm having a rough week or if I'm doing something with my family or there's a family emergency. She always understands and lets me get it done the next week. If I don't see an assignment and I'm like, oh crap, I don't have it down, she always lets me do it and still get full credit because she knows it's hard for all of us because she has technical issues. I have technical issues with everything, and it's just really hard to show that in a video that you're seeing across the screen. I love all of my teachers, but I would have to say Miss Kaufman. She always makes me laugh, and you kind of need to laugh during these hard times, and I just hope that we'll be back in the classroom at some point and I'll get to see her face to face for the first time. Thank you.
So this video is going to be dedicated to Miss Bartlett. I don't know what it is about your class or your teaching methods or whatever, but for some reason I've been really engaged in English this year, more than I ever have. In the past it'd be like something I'd kind of write off because I'm a very facts and kind of statistics, numbers kind of guy, and English is like sharing how you interpret something or your opinions on something. And in the past it just kind of been something that I was like, and you know, I'm never going to use it, it doesn't matter. But for some reason this year, while I might not have agreed with some of the topics, I've been really engaged in it, doing all my work, answering questions in class, really trying to participate, and it's been a good change, I'll say that much. It's a nice, refreshing change of pace from normally, you know, maybe it's because you're nicer than all my other English teachers, you know, I don't know why, but until 8th grade, all the English teachers that I had before that were like really angry all the time and like always mad for some reason. But this year you've been really nice, and I'm really thankful that you're my English teacher.
This is a message from Miss Smutzkowitz, so you are not Miss Smutzkowitz, stop watching. If you are Miss Smutzkowitz, please continue to watch. Miss Smutzkowitz, you are one of the most caring teachers that I have ever met. Honestly, like, I can even tell through a dang screen that you are just so dedicated to your students. You're always so resilient and so helpful and so caring, and you're always able to be flexible with your students. You're so truthful with your students when you're having a hard time, or like when you haven't done like graded something, or you haven't like finished something. You're always very truthful about it, and I appreciate that 100%. You don't know how much, like, I can't even begin to tell you how much you have helped me throughout this NTI journey. And so I just want you to know that you have been doing a great job. Keep it up. I love you. Please have a great weekend, and yeah.
We'll have more of our teacher tributes throughout the month of January. And if you'd like to record one for an Atherton staff member, please record and email your video to Ms. MacArthur at the email address on your screen. Even though our football season was much different than any other because of the pandemic, Atherton football players are still making headlines. Robert Edwards has been named the Independence Bank Player of the Week. Edwards registered 44 tackles this past season, including 7 tackles for a loss and 1 quarterback sack. He was also selected All-District at defensive end and was named a second-team All-Pac Conference selection in 2020. Congrats are also in order for the Atherton JV Quick Recall team. They finished their season last week by coming in second place in the JCPS JV tournament. Sophomores Tim Lee and Noah Calhoun led the team with supporting play from Vince Porso, Andy Black, and freshmen Hayden Sturgeon and Adam West. Throughout the entire season and 2 tournaments, the JV Quick Recall team's only losses were to Manual. They beat every other JV team they faced. We've all been working hard to get things done during this weird school year, and this includes the Atherton Ariel staff. They recently published their first issue. Rhiannon Johnston caught up with editor Lily Buchanan and brings us all of the details.
Although we may not be experiencing a regular school year, the Media Arts Pathway at Atherton High School has been working very hard to create content that creates an impact. Recently, the Atherton Ariel staff published their first Ariel issue for the 2020-2021 school year. Here's editor Lily Buchanan with more information.
Hi, my name's Lily and I'm an editor and reporter for the Atherton Ariel. The Ariel is a news magazine out of Atherton, obviously, and we just put out our first issue this past November. I think you should definitely check it out because our first issue kind of uses a theme of an adaptation to change. I think that this theme is really relatable to a lot of us right now, what with having to adapt to NTI and kind of all sorts of challenges that this pandemic brings. If you'd like to read it, you can check it out at arielnews.weebly.com, and I think you should because it's been a huge effort on the part of lots of students, and this issue especially features lots of great stories, design, and graphics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lily. To keep up with the Ariel and to see their first issue, please click the link below and follow them on Instagram at Atherton Ariel. Thanks for watching. For Atherton On Air, I'm Rhiannon Johnston.
Atherton On Air's own film and music correspondent Will Seckman is back this week with 3 more movie recommendations that may help you pass the time in these dreary winter months.
Howdy, I'm Will Seckman for Atherton On Air. Right now is a perfect time to unwind, kick back, and enjoy some new movies at home. Today I'll be presenting you with 3 more film recommendations. The first film on this list is Streetwise by Martin Bell. This film portrays the lives of 9 desperate teenagers who lived in the streets of Seattle in the early 1980s. This true and heart-wrenching story is criminally underrated and should be seen by anyone who is interested in lower-class American stories and youth culture. The second film is one of the funniest movies you could ever watch. Repo Man, directed by Alex Koch, is about a young punk rocker who gets a job as a repo man in LA. He gets caught up with the CIA and aliens. This movie is crammed with bizarre characters, a killer soundtrack, fantastic visuals, and hilarious satire. This is a quintessential cult classic for all. The last film is directed by the amazing Claire Denis. Her 1990 film, Butraville, is a meditative exploration of masculinity, repressed sexuality, jealousy, and regret among soldiers and their officers in a French Foreign Legion. Set in Djibouti, this is one of the most gorgeous and meaningful films I have ever seen. I hope that you guys check out these films. Thank you, and be safe.
Last Friday, we woke up to our first substantial snowfall of the season. Students in the Intro to Media Arts class took a chance to brush up on their outdoor photography skills. We're going to leave you now with some of that snow scenery. And after that, stay tuned for more reaction from Atherton students regarding the riots in our nation's capital on January 6th. I'm Addie Shaney, and remember, what you do makes a difference.
So I followed the Washington, D.C. riots pretty closely on Wednesday because I wanted to keep track of where the rioters were going in the Capitol and what exactly they were stealing or demolishing or vandalizing. And my teachers did address the situation in class on Thursday and Friday. Some of them took longer to discuss it than others. It just depended on how the students reacted. They essentially just asked how we felt about it and if we needed to talk to anyone about it. And I felt like it was important to address during class because it's happening to all of us and we all have to deal with the consequences of it. The upcoming inauguration worries me because I'm worried that the rioters will show up and do something. One thing that worries me about future elections is how people are going to react, because for the past 2 elections, there's been major backlash. I also feel like this shows how much of a problem white privilege is in the US today, because if that crowd of people had been people of color, so many more would have been killed or attacked by the police.
On Wednesday, I was in my room doing homework and my mom came into my room and asked me if I knew what was happening at the Capitol, and I didn't. And so I went out to the living room and I watched the news pretty much for the rest of the evening. I tried to work on homework, but it was kind of hard to focus on that when there were much more important things happening in the world. All of my teachers, I think, brought it up, but my English teacher, Mr. Foray, and my math teacher, Stutz, in particular, those 2 teachers had like class discussions about it, and you didn't have to participate, but if you wanted to say something about it, you could. And I think it was important for teachers to at least mention it, bring it up, because I feel like it would have been pretty awkward if they just didn't say anything about it, because it was a really big deal, and so I feel like it would have been awkward if they just kind of acted like nothing happened. So yeah, I think it was really important for teachers to bring it up and discuss it with students. I'm kind of worried about inauguration, but I've heard that there's going to be more security than usual there, so that's pretty reassuring. But honestly, it's just so unpredictable at this point, so I hope everything goes okay, but honestly, who knows what'll happen.
The day everything happened in DC, I was watching it on the news for a while, and then after that, I was mostly looking at articles or social media to see if anything else had happened. The next couple days after that, My teachers didn't really talk about it during class, but after class, right before we signed off, they usually would say that they're here to talk to us if we need anything and are able to connect us to counselors if we would rather talk to them.
I followed what happened at the Capitol pretty closely. I'm in a family group chat, and as soon as one of us would find out something new, we would message the other one. So I was kind of getting just live updates as we were getting new information about what was going on. And I was also seeing a lot of videos on TikTok and other social media platforms as well. So I was kind of just getting like all the information as soon as we were getting it. And the next following 2 days, only 2 of my classes talked about it. And I think that's really disappointing because first of all, they were only my elective classes. And second of all, 2 out of 7 classes is really just not acceptable. I think it's very important for teachers to talk to their students about important and real life events that are going on, especially as something as important as the U.S. Capitol being broken into, because for a lot of students it can be traumatic and it can be very overwhelming to witness everything going on and your teachers aren't saying anything about it and they're just continuing on with class as if literally the world is not crashing down around us. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing to me that only 2 of my classes talked about it. And it does worry me for the upcoming inauguration that more stuff is going to happen. There have already been people online saying that they are going to be protesting there, so it does worry me because as we know, these people are not really that smart, as we have seen on Wednesday when they tried to break into the Capitol. So it really does worry me about what could happen to President-elect Joe Biden or other people at the inauguration or just, you know, other protesters. And it's also very, very disappointing to me that the fact that we all know that if those were BLM protesters, it would have been a completely different story and there would have been multiple more deaths instead of just the couple, which is very tragic, but you know, it would have been a lot different and the police response would have been a lot different as well. And I think that's important for teachers to talk about to their students as well.
I followed the riots at the Capitol pretty closely on Wednesday. It was a very strange thing for sure. One worry I have about inauguration is just for the safety of Joe Biden, because, you know, these people, they could easily just do something like this again if security isn't good enough. Yeah.
The riots that were happening in D.C., they brought a lot of attention to my eyes, more than any other crazy stuff that was aired on public TV. But my concerns are, how did people manage to get into the Capitol in the first place with the police and the security, all that the Capitol has? I'm just confused on how they made their way of even coming like close to the building. Some worries that I have about the inauguration are that the riots are going to get like way worse, and the protesters are going to start making their way to the White House. Yeah. So I'm thinking that the protesters are going to try to find their way into the White House or somewhere else. Or if not, they're going to start finding their way. Other states are going to start finding their way into their Capitol buildings and causing problems where they're from.
I didn't follow it too closely, but I know that my mom did very closely. Like, as she was watching on TV, she was also watching it on her phone. She was all on it. And my teachers, a couple of them addressed the situations in class, but I mean, we just talked about it. We didn't do too much. We just kind of sat there and talked about how we felt about it. I do feel it was important to talk about it in class because, in case some of the kids didn't see the news, they might not have known what had happened, and some of us might not know the gravity of the situation that had happened. And some worries that I might have, you know, like, you never know what some of these riots might end up what these riots might end up doing to, like, how they're impacting the election and the inauguration. And I mean, they might end up, like, assassinating the president. Like, you just never know. You never know what'll happen. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
When I was watching the riots Wednesday at Washington, D.C. at the Capitol, it was very interesting to watch. It's something it's the first riot I've seen it's the first riot I've seen. I haven't seen no actual riot. And I didn't understand why, like, it was just a lot going on. And for Trump to support it, it really made me upset because you're against the phone. They broke into the Capitol. They destroyed a lot of people. A lot of people got hurt. People's family got killed. And it was a lot. And it was putting Gores in danger. A lot of staff members there in danger. Put a lot of people at the Capitol in danger. It was like a lot of people's family was in danger, and I didn't like it. And it's very sad to see.
So after the riots at the Capitol and the storming of the Capitol, all of my teachers addressed the situation, which I thought was really great and important since it is a big event that happened. And of course, we will be making history. I know that a lot of students, including me, were very affected, mostly just frustrated with the way that the situation was handled and like the reasoning behind why it even happened. So yeah, I thought it was really great that the teachers brought it up and allowed for us to speak about it in their classroom.